Hi everyone, and welcome to our first lesson of Middle Maths that is being done remotely. I hope everyone is doing well, enjoyed your 2 weeks off, and now we've got to jump back into things with this trigonometry unit that we're doing. Now, before we left on the last day of school, I did see half of you in class. I saw my one group of Middle Maths kids. It was the spell right after we found out about everything. I don't know how much everybody heard. And my other line that was supposed to have maths the next morning at first spell, they didn't even get to see the notes. And so I'm doing a video for those notes again. So whichever category you fall in, you've either seen it or you haven't. Here's a refresher because it's been a while since you've seen this. Now, the first thing that we learned in this unit was called the Law of Sines. And it was the formula that looked something like A over sine of angle A equals B over sine of angle B, etc. Now we're going into what's called the law of cosines. The difference is the law of cosines is a specific situation where you only know one angle. And it's the only way that you can find the side opposite that angle, knowing one angle. So we're going to start out the same way we did before. We're going to talk first of all is if you need to find a side. How do you use the formula if you need to find a side? Now, the very important thing is, because there is only one angle, it must be labeled in a certain way. With the law of sines, you could label your triangles any way you wanted to. You could pick whatever angle you wanted to be A or B or C, but in this specific situation, when you're only given one angle, it must be A. So label the angle you are given as angle capital A. It must be angle A. Very, very important that you do it that way. All right? Now, the next thing you need to know is the formula. And here is the formula. I'm going to go ahead and write it in red so it stands out a little bit. Your angle being A means you're solving for side A. And so the formula starts with little a squared. Little a squared equals side B squared plus side C squared minus 2 times side B times side C times the cosine of angle A. So make sure you copy this down correctly, making sure that you use lowercase letters for the sides and uppercase for the angles like we did with the law of sines. So A squared equals B squared plus C squared minus 2 times B times C times the cosine of A. This is the formula you're going to need. So now let's start with an example. I'm going to use my tool that allows me to draw nice straight lines. And I'm going to draw a triangle. You can draw any triangle you want to. And let's go ahead and label the information that we are given. The angle we are given is going to be in the lower right-hand corner. It is 25 degrees. The bottom side is 55. The side across, down the other side here is 42. And we're looking for x, which is the side across from the 25 degrees. So this is the way the problems are going to look. They're going to look something like this. You're going to have an angle, you're going to have two sides, and you have this x that you're solving for. So now let's label it the way we have to label it. The angle that you know must be A. So we're going to put our capital A next to that angle. The other two angles, it doesn't matter. So we're going to call this one B and this one C. And now label your sides accordingly. So based on the way I've labeled this, which side would the 55 be? It would be side C. And the 42 would be side B. Okay, so now everything is labeled, and now we're ready to use our formula. So we're not going to recopy the formula, it's right here. We're just going to go ahead and start plugging in the information. So A squared equals B, which is 42 squared, plus C, which is 55 squared, minus 2 times side B is 42, side C is 55, times the cosine of angle A, which is 25 degrees. So take a second and copy that down. If you need to pause the video, just pause it and write all that down. All right. Since we are now doing this via video, what I've decided to do is, I know I told all of you that if you didn't own a calculator to go ahead and go download one onto your phone. And you can keep using that if you want to. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to recommend one that I'm going to use all the time. And it is, you can use it on the phone or on the computer. It works either way, and it's called Desmos. I'm going to go ahead and write that up here. www.desmos.com. That is the calculator that I'm going to use for all my videos. So if you want your calculator to look just like mine, go to this website, and you can just click on that, and I'll show you how to get there. I'm going to do it right now, so just hang on. Whoops. Here is Desmos right here. Let me go back. This is the main page of Desmos. And if you notice on the bottom left, it says for function and scientific. Do not push the start graphing, because we're not going to graph anything with this. We're going to just push scientific. And when we do, this screen right here pops up. Now what's nice about this is you can type the whole line in at one time. So I'm going to do it with my pencil. So I have 42. Push the A squared button to get the squared on the 42. And notice it says your answers show up on the right. So it kind of tallies your answer as you're going. Plus 55 squared minus 2 times 42 times 55 times cosine of 25. And close your bracket. Now, if you look right below the 25, it has a DEG. That shows that your calculator is in degree mode and it's ready to go. It's doing it exactly the way I want it to. Now, for what we're going to need in a minute, we're done. The answer is right there in front of us. But I want you to push the blue bottom box because you're going to need that for later. So we have our blue bottom box pushed. It's at 601.858. We're going to go back to our notes and we're going to say that a squared equals 601.858, blah, 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 dot, dot, dot. Okay? But that's not our answer because it's a squared. So how do we find what a is? To take the squared off, we're going to need a square root. So we put a square root on both sides, and you're going to do a square root of answer on the calculator. So I need to go back to Desmos, which is here. I'm going to come find the square root button, which is right below the a squared, and the answer button is under the 3. And notice it popped that whole 601.858 in there, and it gives me the answer to the other side, which is 24.53. So now I'm going to go back to my notes, and I'm going to write in that this equals 24.53. I'm doing 2 decimal places because the answer sheet is going to ask you for 2 decimal places. Now, I actually forgot to say, well, what is A? There's no A on my picture. A is X. So there we go. Side A is 24.53 meters, centimeters, whatever unit of measure the worksheet tells you. All right? So now what I want you to do is I want you to go to the worksheet that is also in Google Classroom, and I want you to pull it up, and I want you to draw the first triangle. Or if you can print it out, that'd be even better. Print out the paper and do the math. Do the first problem. Pause the video. Then when you come back, I will have that problem worked, and you can see if you got it right. All right, here is the first problem on the worksheet done. Notice how I labeled the A over here. The B and the C, it doesn't matter because in the very end, it'll all come out to be the correct answer anyway. When you type in the first line, you should have gotten 161.804. And when you take the square root of that, you get 12.72. Now, what I recommend you do is you pause the video right now and do the rest of this worksheet. It goes through, I believe there's a total of 6 questions. So if you would stop the video right now and then come back and you can watch the second part on knowing how to find an angle given all 3 sides. Okay, part 2 of the video is how to find an angle given the sides. So this is number 2. Let me make this bigger. This is number 2 when you need to find an angle. an angle. That angle you are finding is angle A. We're going to call it angle A. So wherever the X or Y or whatever variable they give you is, that angle must be A. Now this formula is a little more complicated than the last one, so you've got to do it very carefully in the calculator. So listen to those instructions while you do it. The formula is cosine of angle A equals, and I need you to draw a big fraction bar. And the fraction's numerator will be side B squared plus side C squared minus side A squared all over 2 times B times C. That's the formula. So basically what it is, it's the other formula rearranged, but solving for the angle this time. Cosine of A equals, fraction bar on top is B squared plus C squared minus A squared. The denominator is 2 times B times C. So we're going to do an example. I'm going to use my special little tool again to draw a triangle. There's my triangle. So we're going to label this. This side is 27. Whoops, I got the wrong tool on. Here we go. 27 goes here. 19 goes here. 15 goes here. And the angle we're looking for is right here, X degrees. That's the way it's going to look. So all three sides will be labeled, and the X will be in one of the corners, in one of the angles. That angle must be A. So when you go to label it, we're going to call this angle A. Other two does not matter, B and C. It is very important at this point that you label your sides correctly. Now, which side is side A? That would be the 19. The 27 is side B. The 15 is side C. So now we're going to use our formula, and we're going to write the problem down. So we're going to have cosine of angle A equals fraction bar. So make sure you put these in the proper order. 27 squared plus 15 squared minus 19 squared. And on the bottom will be 2 times B, which is 27, times C, which is 15. Now, as a word of warning, it is possible for the top to come out negative. That's okay. I'm just letting you know that now. It does happen on the worksheet once, and that's totally fine. Just be aware of the fact that it might come out negative, but it is very, very important that you put it into the calculator correctly. So now I'm going to go back to my Desmos, which is right here. I need to push this clear all to get rid of everything. And now I'm ready to type in the numerator only. So that would be 15, whoops, clear that, 15 squared plus 27 squared minus 19 squared. And that gives me 593. So I'm going to go back to my paper, and I'm going to write that out to the side, 593. And then back over to here, we do 2 times 15 times 27, and I get 810. So I'll go back to my paper, and I write down over 810. Now notice I wrote that to the end of my initial problem. So now what I'm going to do is write cosine of A equals, and I'm going to put those in the calculator as a division problem and get a decimal, because that's what I need. My decimal needs to be less than 1. So I'm going to come back here, and I'm going to type in 593. Whoops, clear. 593 divided by 810. Notice it wrote it as a fraction. 0.732 blah, blah, blah. So I'm going to push the enter key because I need to do that to save that answer. So I'm going to go back to my notes. 0.732 dot, dot, dot. And now once again, we have that situation where we have a trig function next to my A that I have to remove. Now remember that in order to get the cosine off the a, we move it over and it becomes a cosine inverse. And we're going to do a cosine inverse of the answer, is what we're going to type in the calculator. So we need to go back to Desmos. I need to show you where cosine inverse is because you don't see it here. Now, notice that on the left underlined is the word main. You want to go to the word function, and there are your inverse functions. So we want cosine inverse, and we need to go back to main to get the answer button. And see what it did? It popped the whole thing in there. Close our bracket, and we get 42.94 degrees. So we're going to type in 42.94 degrees, and that's how big angle A, or angle X, is. All right, now it's your turn. Please go to the second worksheet. It's actually yes, it is the second worksheet. And you can tell it's the second worksheet because in all the triangles, all three sides are labeled. That's how you know which one it is. So go to that worksheet, pause the video, and do the first problem. When you're done with it, turn the video back on, and you can see whether or not you got it right. Okay, here is the first question worked out. The top should have given you 220. The bottom should be 256. So cosine of A is equal to 0.8593. And so you get angle A to be 13.75. A couple things I need to say. First of all, I had to change this number right here. And if you got an older copy of the worksheet, that might not be changed. And so you might have come against some sort of a problem in not being able to solve it because it didn't make a true triangle. So that needs to be 16 right there. The other thing I want to say, and I didn't mention this earlier, if you happen to type something in incorrectly, the backspace key, so let me give you an example, 569. Oh, I wanted 563. This key with the X on it, that's the one that backs you up. The arrows go between numbers. So like if there was supposed to be a 0 in there, I can type the 0 right in the middle. So I have the ability to insert as well as to delete things. There is no button that says delete like other calculators have. So I'd have to move my calculator's being, or my computer's being a little bit cranky right now. But anyway, just wanted to show you that button right there so that you can be successful on this. So now, stop the video. Please do the rest of this worksheet. The answers will be on Google Classroom for both parts of the worksheet, finding the side and finding the angle. And when you come back next time, I will have a video up on how to know when to use which law, because you've got to be able to look at the problem and know, is this a law of sines problem or is this a law of cosines problem? And know which law to use in which instance. So that will be the topic of the next video. See you then.